Yes. Okay. So as people keep pouring in, we are going to do a couple of announcements for all of those who are aware of who we are and what we do. We have a very important event coming up in mid-June. And so I would like to do a couple announcements before we start with our webinar on geofencing. So we are in the process, TRACCS as an association, of developing a program for all our members to have a voice in the development of Canadian transit rail standards. We are working on the very early stages, but we are already in partnership with CSA, the Canadian Standard Society Association. And so we encourage anyone who has the time, the availability, and the passion to contribute to this program to send me an email at andrea.r@traccs.ca. We are engaging all the sectors and all the stakeholders that have a role in building, maintaining, and developing the transit that we need, the transit rail that we need here in Canada. So check us out and the program details at traccs.ca/standards, or send me an email and we will connect about the next stages. I did mention that we have a very big event coming up in June. It's TRACCS Rail Day. And we're very lucky to have all our sponsors. Our gold sponsors this year are Margie Straub Construction Law, Platinum Track Services Incorporated, P&R Railworks, Siemens, and Railway Systems by voestalpine. Our silver sponsors this year are Aegis, Live Assets, her transit staffing solution, NGE, and Stantec. Our Blue Line sponsors are going to facilitate our coffee, our cocktail, our conference, and we have Ian Green to thank for, Old Castle Infrastructure, Pettibone, and Universal Rail Systems. Our technology showcase, which is a new sector, is also sponsored by Ian Green. And if you have questions about the sponsorships or any other questions about the event, you can send us an email, info@traccs.ca, and we'll be happy to support you. Now, Rail Day has right now a spring pricing, and it's only available until April 15th. That's roughly in 2.5 weeks. So if you are interested in getting a booth, prices will go up on April the 16th. And we also will have a second info session on April the 30th. So again, all this information is posted on our website, traccs.ca/Rail Day 2024. If you have any questions, please, by all means, send us an email or check out our website. And I hope that we can help you and we can have you join us. Now, without further ado, I would like to welcome you to Geofencing Technology for Track Worker Safety webinar. This is an opportunity to explore how geofencing the wearable devices can help mitigate the risk to our track workers and those who undertake all these huge risks and like track maintenance tasks and operating near dangerous equipment and machinery. So we have here with us Allan Spence, Allan, and Andy. Andy, I can't see. Oh, there you are, Andy. There you are. Well, these amazing gentlemen are very experienced in this field. Andy has spent the last 30 years in civil engineering and the rail sectors. The last 24 years, right, have been spent in the railway industry as a commercial professional, working for many tier 1 contractors and client-side organizations dealing with major projects and portfolios. And has been the managing director of OnWave since January 2023, where he and his team have deployed devices with network rail and maintenance organization and over 10 major tier 1 contractors. Thanks for being here, Andy.
No problem at all.
Allan has spent his career working in safety, most of it in railway safety. He was a warranted HM inspector for over 25 years, seeing the consequences of inadequate safety management, as well as helping to encourage improvement where it was needed. He has prosecuted companies for not taking the action they should. He became HM Deputy Chief Inspector of Railways, and then for 10 years he worked for Britain's biggest rail infrastructure manager, setting the direction for safety and leading various improvements. There he had the grim task of leading industry investigations into track worker deaths when inadequate precautions were taken. Allan also works internationally as a member of the International Union of Railways Safety Platform. Thank you very much, Allan, for being here.
My pleasure.
Very well. So I would love to have you tell us all a little bit more about this amazing technology.
Thanks, Andrea. So I'm going to kick off, and then Andy will follow on with the technical detail and some of the more specific things about the on-wave technology known as OWL. So I guess...
Excuse me, Allan. Do you have your deck?
Andy's showing the deck.
2 seconds. Hold on 2 seconds. I've been having a bit of technical issues, unfortunately, but bear with me, please.
I'll do a little song and a dance. I'll balance the ball on my nose while I'm waiting, Andy.
Yeah. I can't find it. 2 seconds.
Certainly.
So can everybody see that?
Could do with it in present.
Right now?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Let me know when you want me to click on, Allan.
Thanks, Andy. If you can click on 2 from there, and we'll be away. Great. So in introducing me, Andrea talked a bit about my background, and initially that part of my career was as a regulator, checking that companies were doing what they should, and where necessary, giving them a poke with a stick when they didn't. I guess setting this in the context, given that we're doing this presentation intended both for the Canadian industry, but also if anyone's joined us from back here in Great Britain, that a bit like Britain, from 2022, the Criminal Code of Canada has matched the sorts of penalties which we're used to here. So if there's a death or injury from negligence, then the penalties, the consequences for those responsible can be, they can include imprisonment. That can be for company directors, it can be for individuals here. And of course, for the companies themselves, the corporate body, there's no limit on the fines that can be imposed. And that means that there are quite severe outcomes for those who bury their head and don't provide the sorts of precautions which need to be there to protect the people at work on our railroads. And it's a priority for everyone to look after the staff that are doing the work. We often hear phrases about people being our most valued asset. Well, let's look after them and stop them coming to harm. If you can move on, please, Andy. And part of looking after people is actually about using the right technology. And what's the use case for that? Why is it we ought to be using the right technology? Well, there's a couple of quotes that colleagues picked out. I will read. The most deceiving part about rail cars and trains, as big and loud as it is, you don't hear them coming. It's crazy. That's absolutely right. There isn't advance warning. Yeah, you've got a situation where despite the mass, despite the energy that's involved, there's very little audible warning of a train approaching. And then the second quote here is actually about inexperienced staff. The thing with the new guys is they think they can go so fast and be efficient that they just become complacent, said one old hand. And they don't realize the gravity of their error until it happens. And I think that part of the issue here is that you don't get much advance notice. So a mistake can very quickly lead to the adverse outcome, whether that's an injury or worse. But I think the really important point is it's not just the new guys, because even those who've been about in our industry for decades can get complacent too. I led the industry investigation into a double track worker fatality, very nearly a triple fatality. One guy was literally about 2 inches away from being hit by the same train. And in that one, the 2 guys who died had more than 80 years experience in the industry between them. These are not the newcomers. These were guys who knew but had forgotten. So we need to help these guys. If you can move on, please, Andy. And why do we need to help them? Well, here's another quote that somebody's saying, I feel like you can't be there at 80% doing this job, working on a railway. It's pretty dangerous. You can't be at 85%. You have to be at 100%. In other words, that worker's perspective is you have to be at 100% alertness, 100% performance, 100% of the time. And actually, nobody is. Every single one of us will make mistakes. And as you see there, that human actions, that sort of error that somebody brings in, were causal in some of the big track accidents on mainline track. Over 90% of the non-mainline track collisions, and half of the derailments. So human factors are involved in train accidents just as they're involved in worker accidents. And none of us is immune from making a mistake. We have to make sure that we are providing the workers with the belts and braces that help, that guard them when they don't quite meet the 100% objective. And next slide, please, Andy. And there's another factor here, and that is all of our railways are getting busier. Just thinking here in Britain, clearly we took a huge downturn during COVID when people were told to stay home. But now Britain's industry sees as many people travelling by rail, and more, in fact, than were in the immediate run-up to COVID. We are a growing industry as people realise that it's a sustainable way to travel, and it's a more convenient way to travel. And just looking at one example with you in Canada, the expansion of the GO network will make that network better, faster, and easier to travel. That's why we all choose rail. But of course, for those who are doing maintenance on the tracks, it means that there can be more risk. And with the increased train service, there's less opportunity to do work when trains aren't running. And that means that we have to have a balance between doing the work when the whole infrastructure is shut, or perhaps taking some time when one line is closed and other lines are used for track work. And that's fine. We can protect the guys on a closed line, but how do we stop them straying? And this is where we then start to talk about some of the technology that is available now, and particularly the OWL system that OnWave produce. Move on to the next slide, please, Andy. Looking at what happens during switching operations in yards, there's some various stats here about not having enough clearance, the inexperience of the people doing the job, the quality of the briefings and the instructions that people are given, and the fact that even in a yard, you can still be at risk by mainline trains as they pass beside. So even in a depot, in a yard activity, the switching operations may well be happening at lower speed, but the risks are still present. And I think what's really important for me here is that geofencing, the ability to use this 21st century technology, now enables us to provide a warning system to help protect people. It's part of the mix. It sits alongside some of the other systems that can be used, whether they are to warn people of approaching trains if they're working and need a warning to get out the path of the train. Those systems that are providing greater resilience when we block lines. And in this instance, with geofencing, it's about protecting people who might stray from a safe area into an area where trains are moving and they're at greater risk. So with that bit of introduction, what I'm going to do is hand over to Andy, who will tell you a bit more about the detail of OWL.
Hi, everybody. So yeah, just to pick up on Allan's point, so he referred back to a double fatality that he was involved in. Now that was really the start of the process for the production of geofencing for rail. So this just gives a little bit of a snapshot of what we've gone through over here. So there was a 6-month PA certificate process that we had to go through with Network Rail, and that was done in various regions in the UK, which resulted in a certificate being issued in September 22, and then Network Rail followed on with issuing the standard in December 22, which was revised in March 2023 to include geotagging as well as geofencing. So that's associated with plant and other pieces of equipment. Two takeaways from that standard is that it's secondary means protection, and it requires an accuracy of less than 300 millimeters. So again, just picking up on some of the points that Allan made, primarily it is a safety device, and it is to enhance that situational awareness. It's there to make sure that people understand where they are in relation to being safe and unsafe. Alongside that, there are various other user cases that relate back to rail track workers, people and plant interface. So we can put devices on items of plant and create exclusion zones around them. And then any device wearers can be alerted if they venture into that exclusion zone. Prevention of objects being left on the line at the end of possessions by mistake. People leave on trolleys, marker boards, possession limit boards. And what we can do is tag those pieces of equipment. So it acts as a prompt at the end of the possession that there's something still out there. Working any line open, so this is working adjacent to tracks that are open to traffic. We can create a safe zone from the running edge of the open line to make sure that workers do not stray close to the open rail. And again, as Allan's described, it's not only on mainline operations, it can be used for switching operations in depots. Access point verification, so this can just make sure that the teams, the gangs, go to the correct point to access the railway. There was a user case over here in the UK whereby it's a 4-track railway, and the teams would often try and access the railway on the wrong side, so potentially they could walk onto open lines. And it can also be used to separate people from either dangerous operations such as welding, or around areas that they shouldn't go to, where, for example, where there's asbestos or Japanese knotweed, for instance. So this is Owl. Owl consists of three pieces that complete the puzzle. So there's the portal, which connects everything together. There's the app, and then there's the devices themselves. So the portal is the clever piece that sits in the middle. So the portal is used to it uses mapping layers whereby you can create zones. So that's just a little shot there you can see on the left hand side, creating green zones, red zones, or yellow zones. So we try and keep to a standard nomenclature over here in terms of what the zones mean, but generally we use a green for a safe and a red for an unsafe. So the portal will create the zones. It will also allocate the devices to those zones, so the devices will understand how they should behave when they enter or leave the zones. So in terms of how it works, because of the accuracy required by the standard, GNSS or GPS is not accurate enough, it's not man enough. So how we get around that is using RTK technology, which is real-time kinematics. And as you can see on the right hand side there, this is a signal or a service that you can procure from a third party. So the shot over on the right are the position of some RTK base stations in the Toronto area. And what that does is aid the devices in becoming accurate by giving them correction data that they get from the satellites. And it does that by communicating with the device via a cellular signal. So our devices have a multi-SIM in them so that they can pick up the strongest signal in any given area. So over in the UK, there's 4 main suppliers, so it just picks the strongest one. And currently we're using Google Earth as our layer. However, we're just about to sign up to Blue Sky, which is a very much a high res map layer that we'll be using going forward. So this is just a typical shot of what the portal looks like in live view. So live view is where you can watch and monitor devices on the screen in real time. So it gives you full visibility of where devices are in relation to the zones. It also will allow you to flag up any real-time issues that are occurring. So you can configure the portal to tell you when alerts are triggered, and it will tell you which device has triggered the alert. So it gives you the full visibility of how things are occurring on your shift. It also has the ability to create tasks. So if you've got a 2-part possession, you can complete the first part of the possession, and then switch over directly to the second part of the possession. So it's very flexible and configurable in that respect. And it also does record every activity on the cloud. So heaven forbid there's an incident, you can go back and you can check exactly where people were and where equipment was at the time of the incident, and that data is stored securely in the cloud. The third element is the app. So this is something you can download on your mobile device, whether that's your phone or your iPad. And what you can do is tether that device to the mobile device to the RTK device, which is the plus device. And what that will do, the phone or the mobile device will inherit the accuracy of the RTK device. So that will give you pinpoint accuracy. And what you can see here are, if you can see that green dot, basically this was a screenshot of a trial we did up at Leeds, and basically what you can see there is the red lines is where the tracks were open to trains, and the green zone is where they were patrolling. So this was a P-way patrol, but that gives you the situational awareness where you are in relation to everything else. Finally, the devices. So we offer 3 devices. There's the Zero and the Pro, which are more akin to being used on items of equipment. So they are GNSS enabled only. They do not provide the level of accuracy that the Plus device gives. So the reason why we offer these up is that you may not require pinpoint accuracy of where your item of plant is. And these devices are less sophisticated, but they have a longer battery life. The Plus device is the one that we attach to human beings. So that device will report its location twice a second to within 300 millimeters. It has a battery life of 15 hours. However, what we can do is configure that device to report its location maybe once a second, and that will prolong the battery life. It's also got a screen on there that will tell you what its battery life currently is. It will tell you how accurate it is, and it will tell you whether it's receiving RTK signal and cellular signal. All of those, all of that information can be visible on the portal. So you can click on the portal, click on a device, and it will tell you what the battery life is at that particular point in time as well. And it'll also tell you how that device is functioning. So one of our biggest clients in the UK is Alstom, and they are using it for an £86 million project over in the UK. They're re-signalling Cambridge area, and these are really the user cases that they've got. They want to see where their people are. They want to make sure that their people are safe. They also want to make sure that their people do not venture in the path of any item of plant or train. They're also very keen that they put their marker boards in the correct spot. We get a report every month from Network Rail in the UK that describes instances more or less every day where teams are venturing outside of their prescribed working limits. Privacy, it's very important that the information is kept private and we maintain our GDPR credentials. We are Cyber Essentials Plus as a business, and that just makes sure that we get audited and make sure that we keep everything safe. The information that is recorded can be released, but that's only done by a written instruction or request to do so. And really, this is sort of the last slide that I sort of want to leave you with, and it really just highlights all of the benefits that OWL can give. Not only is it a safety device, it's also got many other applications. So second one down, points run through. Over here in the UK, we estimate that points are run through the wrong way at least twice a month, and that the average cost in any given year for points run through is in excess of £20 million. We can create zones around the ends of points just to make sure that items of plant go through them the correct way. It acts as an aide-memoire. Site access control, it can tell you how long people have been on site as long as they turn the device on. Productivity, this is something that has a commercial edge to it. However, it's in everybody's interest that work gets done to program. Asset location, you can tag assets very accurately with the devices. And again, one thing that leads on from from learning is that it gives us leading indicator data. So the portal will suck up data, and we can provide many different ways of relaying that back. So that can identify further training that's required. It can identify locations of particular hazards, for instance. So it's all about trying to learn from the data that you've got. One of the other items that it can add benefit to is cross-referencing possession access with workbank location. So if you take the workbank that you have in the Toronto area, you've got loads of different projects that are going to be happening at different times that require access to the railway. What we can do in a very visual way is provide that information on a map format, and then you can work with that, and it's one source of the truth, and everybody could have access to that, and it would give you that optimization that you're really after from track access. It's very much an open system. It's been designed to accept information from other systems, and it's also been designed to allow other systems to have our data surfaced in it, so that will make sure that it makes the user experience of the people logged in very simple. You can just log in if you've already got a system that that you're used to logging in. We can give you we can surface our data in that particular platform, so it just makes it efficient for everybody, and you're not trying to log into 10 different things at once. The beauty of our system as well, and I'll end on this, is that it is fully customizable. We are always looking to improve the system as it stands, and we react to customer aspirations and try to make sure that we adapt to the system, we keep it moving, we keep it agile, so it serves its purpose and gives best value for the client. So that's really all from me. I guess we open up for questions.
Thank you very much. We have Dirk Blumrich with a question. Dirk's asking, since time is very critical in these situations, how is a maintenance person notified if they have entered a red area accidentally? Or does this rely on someone monitoring the online portal and getting into contact with this maintenance person?
So I'll take that one. So the device is fitted with a haptic element to it, so it will vibrate. It will also issue out a flashing LED warning, and it will also give you a loud warning up to, I think over in the UK it was limited to 89 decibels. So the wearer will know very much so that they have entered the incorrect zone. And that is fully customizable. Again, there are 12 different alerts that we can use for the devices, and it will also record on the portal that that device has received entering an unsafe area alert. So there's no need for the people viewing the activity on the portal to contact the individual directly. The device will do it for you.
Thank you.
That's great. Well, other guests of this webinar, oh, there, Tuna has a question. Do the user have the ability to make changes to the zones, or are the changes being done through our personnel?
So the zones can be created either by ourselves, or what we would recommend is that we provide training to people that want to use it. So we would make sure that people are competent on the system to create their own zones and allocate the alerts and all the other functionality. What we do have is a varying level of access. So you can have like a read-only access, or you could have like a super user access, whereby you can change any part of the system that you need changing in terms of zones and alerts. So it's really down to the customer as to what they prefer.
Thank you. Now, Daniel has another question. Has this been tested or under trial in the GTA with adjacent buildings, bridges, and other obstructions that may interfere?
Has it been tested? Not thoroughly. I came over to Toronto, when was it? Start of December. So I brought over a few devices to use and just to do some very simple tests while we were out there. So they have to see the sky. So walking down Yonge Street with the skyscrapers, it didn't like it at all. But by the time I got down to the lake where it's more open, it was down to 10 centimeter accuracy, more or less straight away. So it does have its limitations. It's not 100% reliable everywhere, because it has to see satellites, it has to have cellular coverage, and it has to have RTK signal. So what the standard caters for is testing it in the area where you intend to use it before you use it. because you've got to bear in mind it is a secondary form of protection. So yes, it has its limitations, but we can only try in the areas and see if it works. And you know, is a limitation of the technology as a whole. Any vendor would struggle to make their system work if the devices can't see the sky and the satellites.
Thank you. While other people type in their questions, I did receive an email from Kevin Garden. He asked me if I could, he's on a flight, so he's going to reach to you shortly. But in the meantime, who else is using this technology?
So over here in the UK, there's Network Rail are using the technology for their maintenance operations. We have engaged with Alstom. We've engaged with Morgan Sindall, Volker Vessels, and we're in discussions with quite a few of the other tier 1 contractors, plus the other regions of Network Rail in the UK. We are also in discussions with Infrabel, SNCF, Kiwi Rail, and I have also been discussing it being used with Metrolinx as well. So it's relatively new technology at the end of the day. It's only really been available for 15 months, but the level of interest is certainly ramping up.
Oh, definitely. Are you using this in other sectors?
Yes, it can be used in other sectors. So that we are on the National Highways framework, so it's used for our road construction and from the government that's funded. We also are looking at nuclear. So nuclear is very regulated in as far as access to certain areas. So it's being used, or we're planning to use it with various clients in that respect as well. Aviation is another sector that we are certainly promoting it in as well, in terms of baggage trucks and objects left on the runway as well, following maintenance operations. So yeah, it's multi-sector. If you can draw a zone around it, and you don't want individuals or plant to access certain areas, regardless of the sector, that's what it can do.
Okay, so then I assume this could also be used to possession planning, if you want to.
Absolutely, yeah. So so for Network Rail, we take their possession plan. So they have cyclical possessions that they use for maintenance, and we take all of their possessions and we create the zones for the limits of the possessions on the various track IDs that they've asked for. So not only does it create the geofence zones for the shift, it also provides a great tool for planning your possession on a Thursday ready for the Saturday. So it's very good in terms of defining the access points, the walking routes, and areas where items of plant are going to get onto the track as well. So yes, absolutely, it can be used for planning.
Fantastic. Okay, and is this your own IP?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And now I guess the next question that anyone interested would have is, how much does it cost to implement?
Good question. So it really does depend what you're after. So if you wanted a fully managed service whereby we create all your zones and we create, we run the portal for you, then obviously that's more expensive than if you just want to create your own zones and have devices. Excuse me. But in terms of a range, it could be as little as £2 per device per day, or it could be up to £4 per device per day. So I'm not sure what the conversion is into Canadian dollars.
Oh, well, we would have to check that.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll fluctuate.
Yeah. But that seems really reasonable. Can you please share any information on the product roadmap?
I haven't got the actual roadmap that we use, but there's certain things that we're looking to push. So as I said, we're always looking to make the product better, make the devices better, and make the user journey better. So certainly there's the next big thing for us is ultra wideband in terms of getting our system to work underground.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the primary points on our roadmap that we do have. There's over 200 things on the list to do in terms of what the developers are working on at the moment. But really, we just need to manage that on a 2 weekly basis and make sure that we do the right thing in the right order.
That's good. That seems really custom.
Yes, it's very, very customizable. It's, we react to clients' requirements and do what we can within the infrastructure that we've got.
Well, thank you very much. Paul here has another question. What are the costs for training, and would it be online or face-to-face?
We can do either. To be honest, I'm a great fan of being face-to-face rather than on Teams. But we can do face-to-face, or we can do individual training or as a group of training. And the training really doesn't take that long. We can probably get a group of about 10 people up to speed in less than half a day. So the training really is very inexpensive in reality, and we would look at there's many variables there in terms of where it is, whether we've got to travel there, whether we've got to stay in a hotel or anything else. But it's very insignificant in the grand scheme of things.
I think it's fair to say, Andy, that training the users, the people who actually wear the devices, it'd be minimal because it's so intuitive. But the training really is for those who are planning and using the portal and such like.
Oh yeah, absolutely, Alan. Yeah, it is really the portal training that takes the time. In terms of the devices, you literally turn them on and put them on your arm. That's as easy as it gets.
Well, that's really good. So we're gonna give people another chance. If you really want to ask a question, you can do so now. But you can see on the screen the contact information for Allan and Andy, and you'll be able to connect with them as well. We will be sending you a link for the recording if you want to revise it with your team, and it would be great if you connect. And again, I want to thank you, Andy, for your time and the preparation. Allan, it's been really informative and really good. We're looking forward to seeing this product in Canada, protecting our track workers. So
just to add, Andrea, thank you for
Yes.
Obviously all the help that you've given us in organising this webinar. But just to sign off, I'm planning to come over for Rail Day in June.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
Hopefully I'll see some of you there, and I can show you the equipment in person.
Oh, that would be great. I think that a lot of people are going to be interested in seeing it in person. So there you go. Brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to come to Rail Day to see it. Thank you very much. And as I said, I will be sending the link for the recording to all of those who were present today. And you'll be able to connect with our presenters and their team by email, phone, or through their portal for more information. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Andrea.
Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, we have a question. Someone's raising their hands, so.
Okay.
You can unmute yourself and ask your question. Does that? Or maybe he was trying to log off. I don't know. He's not there anymore. Okay, no problem. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye.